In the quiet town of Ellington, just days before Christmas, a scene unfolded that would shatter the peace of the community. The front door swung open to reveal a nightmarish tableau on the kitchen floor, blood smearing the path that led to a chilling discovery in the basement. There lay Connie Debates, lifeless, the tragic victim of an alleged break-in turned deadly. But as investigators delved deeper, the story began to unravel, revealing a web of deceit, betrayal, and dark intentions. Richard Debates, her husband, tied to a chair and bleeding, painted a picture of horror. Yet the evidence told a different tale. With each digital breadcrumb and suspicious activity logged, the truth became more elusive. Did love turn to murder in a heartless plot? Or was this a tragic accident masked by calculated deceit? Before we dive deeper, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. New stories every day. In an ordinary suburb where homes stand in neat rows and the scent of freshly cut grass lingers in the air, the tranquility of life can shatter in a heartbeat. Birchview Drive, a quiet lane in Ellington, Connecticut, was a picture of domestic bliss until December 23, 2018, when it unwittingly became the backdrop for a chilling narrative of betrayal and tragedy. The season of goodwill and festive cheer was about to be eclipsed by a dark cloud of suspicion and horror. As first responders rushed to the scene, their hearts pounded, not just from adrenaline, but from the weight of what lay ahead. The porch light flickered nervously in the cold winter air, illuminating the front door ajar, revealing a gruesome scene that would haunt them for years to come. Red smears strewn across the kitchen floor led to the basement, a descent into a nightmare where 2 gunshots had disrupted the stillness of a family home. Connie Debates, a vibrant 39-year-old mother, lay sprawled lifeless on the cold concrete, a haunting testament to a life extinguished too soon. The details of her death were horrific, a bullet to the back of her head and another to her stomach. The brutality of the act resonated through the walls, echoing the chaos of that fateful morning. Nearby, her husband, Richard Debates, was discovered tied to a chair, blood oozing from various wounds, an image designed to evoke both sympathy and suspicion. His claims of a masked intruder, armed and demanding money, resonated oddly in the face of mounting evidence that painted a different story. The air was thick with tension as investigators scoured the scene for clues, their trained eyes assessing every detail. Tools lay scattered across the basement floor: a razor knife, a butane torch, objects that suggested a sinister intent rather than the chaotic aftermath of a robbery gone wrong. Outside, the sirens wailed, cutting through the eerie stillness, a stark reminder that this was not a scene from a film, but a raw reality etched into the lives of those involved. Richard's account was initially coherent. He recounted the mundane details of the day: the drive to drop the kids at school, his return home, and the horrifying discovery of an intruder. Yet, the digital breadcrumbs he left behind told a story riddled with discrepancies, unraveling the carefully woven fabric of his alibi. At 8:26, mere moments after he claimed to be driving away, he logged into Facebook, his fingers tapping away as if the weight of the world hadn't just descended upon his household. As investigators peeled back the layers of Richard's narrative, they found an intricate web of deceit. The home security system was tampered with at 8:47, just as he was purportedly encountering danger. A flurry of digital activity, an email sent to his supervisor, text to a woman named Sarah, painted a portrait of a man whose priorities lay elsewhere, perhaps in a life that promised escape rather than commitment. By 9:30, Connie's Fitbit continued to record her movements, defying Richard's timeline, suggesting that she was alive long after he claimed she had been murdered. The haunting question remained: what had happened in those moments leading up to the gunfire? A wallet, supposedly stolen, turned up untouched in the yard, raising doubts about Richard's claims. Superficial knife wounds on his body suggested a struggle that may have been staged rather than the result of a desperate defense against an intruder. Meanwhile, the police canine, trained to detect deception, repeatedly gravitated towards Richard, perhaps sensing the undercurrents of guilt that lay just beneath the surface. Days passed, and as the investigation deepened, the facade of innocence began to crumble. Richard quickly sought legal counsel, an unsettling move for a grieving husband still processing the loss of his wife. With calculated precision, he filed a life insurance claim of nearly $500,000, while withdrawing substantial sums from Connie's investment accounts. Each step he took felt deliberate, as if orchestrating a path toward a future free from the ties of his past. Yet, an even darker revelation lurked beneath the surface. Connie, a woman on the brink of reclaiming her life, had penned a note titled, "Why I Want a Divorce," revealing the cracks in their marriage, lies, debt, and a feeling of being overlooked. Richard's own betrayal, an affair with a woman named Sarah who was pregnant with his child, cast shadows on their union. Just days before, he had confided in Sarah, declaring his intention to leave Connie, love unspooled from his heart like a delicate thread unraveling into chaos. As layers of deceit unfurled, the question lingered. Was this a tragic accident cloaked in a narrative of premeditated horror, or had love twisted into a lethal weapon? The truth remained elusive, shrouded by the fog of human emotion, desperation, and the lengths one would go to for freedom. In the chilling aftermath of that December evening, the community held its breath, waiting for answers as the story of Connie and Richard debates continued to unfold, a tale steeped in tragedy, forever etched in the annals of Ellington's history. As the morning sun broke over Ellington, a small town nestled amid rolling hills and sprawling farmland, an air of dread settled on its streets like a thick fog. The tranquility that often enveloped its residents was abruptly shattered by the piercing wail of sirens, a sound too jarring for a community accustomed to the gentle rhythms of rural life. On that December morning, the familiar laughter of children heading to school was replaced by hushed whispers and fearful glances exchanged across picket fences and front porches, as neighbors sensed an undercurrent of horror weaving through their idyllic surroundings. Richard Debates, a figure once intertwined with the heart of the town, became the unwilling focal point of a narrative that would soon spiral into a tale of tragedy and turmoil. Paramedics, with their practiced calm, rushed to the scene, navigating through a labyrinth of yellow police tape that now cordoned off the Debates' home, a once vibrant sanctuary that had become a site of unspeakable violence. Richard, discovered bound to a chair and bloodied, lay in a chaotic tangle of limbs and furniture, a stark reminder that even the most mundane of mornings could morph into a living nightmare. In the shadows of the basement, the lifeless body of Connie lay still, a chilling testament to the violence that had erupted within the walls of their shared life. The cold, hard truths of that day came flooding in. 2 gunshots, the final punctuation to a life cut tragically short, each bullet a cruel reminder of the fragility of existence. For the residents of Ellington, the images unfolding before them felt surreal, reminiscent of the dark plots spun on television, where the lines between fiction and reality blurred, leaving a community grappling with the unspeakable. As detectives began to piece together the remnants of that fateful morning, the gravity of Richard's account weighed heavily in the air. He described the mundane details of his morning routine, driving the children to school, returning home to change clothes, the innocuous banality of life that would soon be irrevocably altered. But beneath the surface of his narrative lay a tangle of emotions, a web of conflicting truths that would soon unravel. Richard's recollections painted a picture of an ordinary family caught in the throes of an extraordinary circumstance. He saw the tall intruder, clad in camouflage, as he rifled through Connie's cherished jewelry. A shadow of fear loomed large as he recalled the intruder's deep voice, a voice that would haunt him in the sleepless nights to follow. In those fleeting moments of chaos, Richard felt the weight of imminent danger, and the instinct to protect his family surged within him, urging him to shout a warning to Connie, to run, to escape. But Connie's choice to retreat to the basement instead of fleeing to safety raised a profound question that rippled through the community. What drove her to seek out a weapon? Was it desperation, a fierce maternal instinct to protect her children at all costs, or perhaps the misguided belief that she could confront the danger head-on. The basement, typically a repository for long-forgotten memories and remnants of family life, old toys, seasonal decorations, and echoes of laughter, had transformed into a graveyard of lost hopes. The moments that followed were a cacophony of violence. Gunshots rang out, ricocheting through the house, marking the end of all that was and the beginning of a dark chapter for those left behind. Richard could still hear the echoes. The sounds burned into his psyche as he descended into the depths of that harrowing morning. He found Connie lying on the cold floor, her lifeblood pooling around her like the remnants of a once vibrant existence. The masked man, now a tangible specter of fear, turned his aggression toward Richard, inflicting pain and humiliation, forever altering the course of his life. In the wake of that tragedy, the community of Ellington sought to navigate the murky waters of grief and confusion. The vibrant streets that had once thrummed with life became steeped in an unsettling silence, punctuated by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant call of a bird. Neighbors gathered in small clusters, eyes filled with questions, hearts heavy with sorrow, as they reflected on the fragility of their own lives, pondering how quickly everything could unravel. As the investigation unfolded, the fabric of the debate's life, long perceived as the quintessential American dream, was laid bare, raw, exposed, and vulnerable. The questions of trust, love, and betrayal lingered like a specter, haunting not just Richard, but an entire community forced to confront the shadows hidden within their own lives. In the haunting aftermath of that fateful December morning, the story of Richard and Connie debates became a chilling reminder of how intertwined love and tragedy can be, lingering in the hearts and minds of all who bore witness to their tale. As the investigation into the tragic murder of Connie debates progressed, the emotional landscape of the small town of Vernon shifted dramatically. This was no longer just a crime scene. It had morphed into a stage for profound psychological scrutiny, transcending the boundaries of fear and suspicion. The once peaceful community was now gripped by an atmosphere thick with unease, the air heavy with whispered suspicions and unspoken fears. In the days following the incident, the haunting absence of clear answers left residents grappling with their own vulnerabilities. The investigation, which began with a fervor of urgency, soon found itself entangled in dark corridors of uncertainty. As the days turned into weeks, hope began to erode, replaced by a gnawing anxiety that something sinister might be lurking closer than anyone had anticipated. Friends and family expressed their desperation for justice, while the detectives worked diligently, piecing together fragmented evidence in the hopes of revealing the truth behind this tragic event. Richard Debates, Connie's husband, became a focal point of the investigation. Initially, he appeared to be a pillar of strength, projecting a facade of resilience that left neighbors scratching their heads. As he immersed himself in social gatherings, laughter echoed through his home, belying the gravity of his circumstances. It was a perplexing performance, casting shadows on his grief that many found unsettling. The juxtaposition between his upbeat demeanor and the gravity of the loss struck a discordant note, igniting a firestorm of speculation. What kind of man could carry on so earnestly when his wife had fallen victim to such a violent act? Friends and acquaintances who had once shared laughter and good times with Richard now found themselves entangled in a web of doubt. Conversations slipped into hushed tones, laden with skepticism. Questions loomed as heavy as the spring rain. The very fabric of their shared community began to fray as Richard's actions were scrutinized. While grief manifests in myriad forms, some seek solace in solitude, others find refuge in company. Richard's joviality seemed particularly jarring against the stark backdrop of loss. The seeds of suspicion had been sown, and they began to flourish in the fertile ground of doubt. Detectives, too, sensed the discord in Richard's narrative. As they combed through the evidence, they noted inconsistencies that sparked concern. A basement window remained slightly ajar, a potential entry point for an intruder, yet nothing of value appeared to be taken. Instead, the scene suggested a strange calmness, a calculated execution rather than a crime birthed of chaos. Even the police dogs, trained to track scents, acted peculiarly, drawn toward Richard instead of following a trail of a fleeing suspect. Each of these anomalies wove a more intricate tapestry of suspicion around Richard, leading investigators to question not only the crime, but also the man at its center. The local community found itself caught in a maelstrom of emotion, teetering between the need for justice and the instinct to protect one of their own. The tight-knit neighborhood, which once thrived on support and camaraderie, began to fracture. Friends became wary. Bonds forged over years of shared experiences started to unravel under the weight of tragedy and uncertainty. Conversations turned into cautious exchanges, a lingering shadow of doubt looming over relationships that once felt unshakable. As detectives continued their methodical investigation, a palpable tension hung in the air. The absence of tangible leads only deepened anxiety. Hope flickered dimly, a fragile candle in the growing darkness. Despite the first selectman's assurances that the incident was isolated, the community was gripped by a sense of paranoia. What if this was merely the beginning? What if the killer roamed free among them, a specter hidden in plain sight? Days turned into weeks, and the lack of resolution weighed heavily on the hearts of the townsfolk. Those who had once held firm beliefs in the justice system's ability to bring clarity now found themselves questioning everything. No longer just a tragic loss. The murder of Connie Debates evolved into a canvas painted with the brushstrokes of fear, doubt, and betrayal. Neighbors emerged cautiously from their homes, glancing sideways as they passed one another, sharing furtive looks infused with urgency and dread. In this fragile environment, the pursuit of truth became not just an investigation, but a collective longing for closure, a desperate need to reclaim a sense of safety and normalcy. Yet, as the days wore on, it became increasingly evident that this quest was anything but straightforward. The lines between victim and perpetrator blurred in the haze of uncertainty, leaving the community, and indeed the investigators, grappling with the haunting question: who was truly guilty in this tapestry of love, loss, and betrayal? In the shadowy depths of human relationships, where trust and betrayal intertwine, the case of Connie Debates implodes into a tale laden with dark complexity. The narrative of her death, initially perceived as a tragic loss, unfurls into a sordid saga of deception, manipulation, and desperation, shaping a community's understanding of love and loyalty, and the terrifying lengths to which a person might go to escape a life of chaos. Richard Debates, the man at the heart of this storm, appeared to be ensnared in a web of his own making. The evidence suggests a tumultuous, emotional landscape, a life marked by a double existence, caught between a declining marriage and an illicit affair. The dichotomy of his actions paints a portrait of a man consumed by urgency, a man who, as the days count down to that fateful moment, seems to believe he can erase his past with a single, irreversible act. In a final bid to claim a newfound freedom, Richard reached out to a divorce attorney, yet the absence of any formal paperwork speaks volumes. It was a whisper of intention, shrouded in a cloak of inaction, an empty promise that echoes through the months leading to Connie's murder. The evidence mounts, a troubling pattern of deceit that manifests in text messages, phone calls, and clandestine financial transactions. Richard's words to Sarah, a promise of leaving Connie, juxtaposed with angry exchanges between him and Connie, signal a deeply fractured relationship. Connie's voice, laced with frustration and betrayal, emerges from the ether, rebuking Richard for the lies he had spun. The stark contrast between Richard's assertions to Sarah and the reality of his life with Connie reveals a man attempting to navigate a moral quagmire, each step deeper into the abyss. Richard's secret indulgences, using a hidden credit card to fund flowers for Sarah and paying for nights at a strip club, paint a bleak picture of a man ensconced in the throes of infidelity. Such acts, while perhaps seeming innocuous in isolation, collectively showcase a psyche in turmoil, desperate to escape the inevitable reckoning that awaited him at home. His search history, filled with ominous queries about poisons and methods of untraceable harm, is a chilling glimpse into the mind of a man who may have begun to view his wife not as a partner, but as an obstacle to his freedom. As the investigation unfolded, it revealed not merely a timeline of events, but a profound distortion of reality, a struggle for control and the lengths one might go to reclaim it. The Fitbit data, a silent witness to Connie's final hours, provides harrowing evidence against Richard's account of the morning she died. The cold, hard facts of her activity, juxtaposed with his narrative, reveal a man whose life unraveled in secret before culminating in a catastrophic act. Surveillance footage and digital footprints further constructed an unsettling timeline, marking Richard's actions as he navigated through an increasingly tangled web of deceit. The moment he accessed the home security system while claiming to be elsewhere raises a litany of questions. Was this an act of self-preservation or a calculated move to disguise his impending crime? The timeline of events cascades, each new revelation painting Richard not just as a husband, but as a man wrestling with the demons of his choices that would ultimately lead to the irrevocable loss of life. As investigators painstakingly pieced together the fragments of that day, the community watched, their sense of safety obliterated. The narrative of a husband, a father, and a partner morphed into that of a suspected killer, fostering an environment rife with speculation and fear. Connie's vibrant life, marked by her passion for fitness and community, stands in stark contrast to the darkened reality that unfolded within the walls of her home. In the aftermath, this tragic case evolved into a microcosm of broader societal dilemmas. The fragility of trust, the complexities of human relationships, and the haunting consequences of choices made in moments of desperation. The community, once a tapestry of shared lives and mutual support, found itself frayed at the edges, grappling with the chilling reality that evil can lurk behind familiar faces, shrouded in the guise of love. What began as a story of personal betrayal transformed into an unsettling reflection on the human condition, forcing each resident to confront the unsettling truth that sometimes darkness resides where you least expect it. The trial of Richard debate not only captured the attention of a community reeling from tragedy, but also served as an unsettling lens through which to examine the intricate web of relationships and societal expectations that shape human behavior. As the courtroom drama unfolded, it became clear that the resolution of this case was about more than just guilt or innocence. It was a profound investigation into the very essence of trust, love, and betrayal. Over the weeks of testimony, the courtroom atmosphere shifted from one of confusion to a palpable tension as the prosecution laid out their case. They painted Richard as a man whose desperation culminated in a chilling act of violence, a man who, fearing the repercussions of a crumbling marriage, resorted to the unthinkable. Each revelation, each piece of evidence, particularly the lack of signs of a break-in and the chilling contradictions in Richard's account, painted a stark portrait of a man trapped by his own choices. It was a narrative that resonated deeply with the community, forcing them to reflect on their own relationships and the sometimes invisible fissures that can lead to catastrophic outcomes. Richard's defense team, on the other hand, argued against the overwhelming narrative of guilt. They sought to introduce doubt, emphasizing the presence of unidentified DNA and the dubious claims of shadowy figure lurking near the house. Yet, as the trial progressed, it became increasingly clear that the prosecution's case was bolstered by a timeline filled with inconsistencies and emotional turmoil. The testimonies from Connie's family revealed not only the pain of loss, but also the stark reality of a man who, in his moments of vulnerability, could not summon the empathy expected in such tragic circumstances. Richard's demeanor, as recounted by Connie's sister, was chillingly devoid of emotion as he recounted the events of that fateful day. It emphasized a disconnect, a man torn between two lives, one that promised stability and love, while the other lingered with the shadows of infidelity and fear. As the trial reached its climax, the jury was left to contemplate the intricacies of human relationships and the lengths to which people go to protect their own selves. The verdict, when it arrived, sent ripples through the community, a collective intake of breath as the weight of the decision hung heavily in the air. Richard was found guilty, a verdict that not only sealed his fate but ignited a firestorm of discussion about accountability, the nature of love, and the fragility of trust within familial bonds. The lasting impact of this case extended far beyond the courtroom. In the wake of the verdict, the community of Ellington found itself at a crossroads, grappling with the profound implications of betrayal and the violent rupture of a family. Town hall meetings blossomed into forums for discussion on mental health, urging residents to engage in open conversations about emotional well-being and support systems. The tragedy served as a catalyst for change, prompting organizations to offer workshops aimed at fostering healthy relationships and providing resources for those struggling with personal crises. Moreover, in the years that followed, the narrative of Richard debate and the legacy of Connie became intertwined with a broader movement advocating for awareness surrounding domestic issues and the importance of seeking help. Stories emerged from survivors, community leaders, and advocates who emphasized the need for vigilance and intervention, reminding individuals that the signs of distress often lie beneath the surface, waiting to be seen and addressed. The specter of violence was dissected in educational settings, sparking discussions on the importance of empathy and understanding in interpersonal relationships. As the dust settled, the community found itself irrevocably altered. The memory of Connie, a woman whose life ended so abruptly, became a rallying cry for change, urging others not to ignore the signs of emotional strife or to judge too swiftly from the outside. Her story became a poignant reminder of the fragility of life, the importance of open communication, and the necessity of fostering a culture that prioritizes mental health alongside the complexities of love and loyalty. Ultimately, the case of Richard debate illuminated the dark corners of human relationships, revealing the profound impact of choices made in moments of desperation. It served as a cautionary tale, echoing through the streets of Ellington, as residents navigated their own lives with a newfound awareness of the delicate balance between trust and betrayal, love and loss. The shadows cast by this tragedy lingered, but so too did the determination to honor the memory of Connie by fostering understanding and compassion within a community forever changed. In the crucible of grief and betrayal, Richard debate's trial embodies the intricate tapestry of human emotion and moral conflict. As testimonies unfolded, the courtroom became a battleground where love intersected with desperation, shedding light on the haunting consequences of choices made in the shadows of domestic turmoil. Each voice echoed a chilling reminder of the cost of silence, revealing the often overlooked fractures within relationships that can culminate in tragedy. As the trial progresses, the community of Ellington grapples with its own narrative of trust, vulnerability, and the unrelenting quest for truth amidst the ruins of a shattered family. If this story stayed with you, share with someone. Comment your city and your local time. Say hello to the people in the comments. I would love to know where and when you're hearing this. And if you have a story you want me to cover, let me know. Subscribe for more. I will see you in the next one.